Hi, my name is Elaine Mahan. I'm a primary school teacher and a mum of 2 young children. COVID-19 has affected all of our families in different ways. For us as a family, it's meant that we're not able to do our favourite hobbies like swimming, and it's also meant that we're not able to travel to see our aunties and uncles and cousins and grandparents. COVID-19 has also affected the way we practice our faith. So for a long while we had Mass in our sitting room, which was fine but not ideal. And then even when Mass returned, it wasn't quite the same. If you have a child preparing to celebrate Holy Communion for the first time in 2021, you might be saying to yourself, even at this stage, well, what can I do to help and support my child at this really important moment in their life and in their religious formation? So what I'd like to present to you is maybe 5 things that you could do with your child at home, with your own family, in order to kind of prepare for this sacrament of initiation. And as you're listening, even if there's one of them that you say to yourself, yeah, I think we could do that in our own space, in our own time, then that's fantastic, and I'd really encourage you to go ahead and do it. So firstly, the first thing I want to encourage you to do is to pray with your child. And when and how and what you pray is entirely up to you. So in our family prayer time is usually after dinner, because generally we're all there and no one is ever in a rush to get to bed. We might say a formal prayer like the Our Father, or I might ask my son, do you know a prayer that you've learned in school? Or we might just offer our own prayers as a family. I might just say, what do you want to pray for today? Asking children to offer those kind of open prayers, what do you want to pray for today, is also great as a mum to get an insight into what's kind of going on in their heads at that moment. Second thing I really want to encourage you to do is to visit the church. So even though our churches may be closed for public worship, lots of them are still open for private prayer. So it's actually a really nice time to go to the church with your child and to do different bits and pieces. So look around at all the statues, try and name the saints. Look at the stained glass windows and see what stories the pictures are telling. Take a walk up and look at the sanctuary area, the area around the altar. Can you see the tabernacle? Can you spot the sanctuary lamp? And then maybe sit down and say a prayer with your child. Say a prayer for frontline workers. I know again in our own family we used to go to the church on someone's birthday, especially if we weren't there to celebrate with them, and light a candle and maybe take a picture of the kids lighting the candle for that person. So a nice thing to do during this kind of uncertain time. Third thing I'd really encourage you to do is somewhat related to that. And it's probably something that you're already doing in your own home with your own family. But what you might do in this particular year for your child is just maybe to present it to them in a different way. And this is something that Pope Francis is telling us all the time we have to do as Christians. We have to live our faith. So it's important to learn about God and it's important to pray to God, but then that should encourage us to act out our faith in a lived and in a real way. So in these COVID-19 times, how can we do that? I suppose it starts with just trying to be kind and patient with each other in our own homes, in our own family life. But maybe extending a little bit further beyond that, it means encouraging the kids to FaceTime or to Zoom, maybe some relatives who are far away and perhaps living alone. Maybe it's making a special card for a neighbour and just popping it through the letterbox, or any of those little acts of kindness, again, that so many of us are already trying to encourage our children to do, and perhaps they're encouraging us to do as well. What might be different if your child is preparing to celebrate a particular sacrament this year is we might encourage them to name that in the light of faith. So we might say, we do that because we're a follower of Jesus, or we do this because it's the way God wants us to reach out to other people. Fourth thing then I'd encourage you to do is to get involved in learning about whatever religious education your child is doing in school. And that can be a little bit tricky at the moment, because for some of us we haven't returned to full homework, so our children may not be bringing home their Grow and Love books every week in the way perhaps we were used to. And we've all had that experience of parents where we say to our children, you know, what did you do at school today? And they say, nothing. So perhaps we have to get a little bit specific when we're asking them about religious education. So we can ask questions like, did you learn any stories about Jesus today? Did you say any prayers in school today? Did you take a look at your Grow in Love books this week? So things like that, asking them specific questions can kind of help to bring out in them what they already know about God. And my fifth and final point is to introduce you to these Grow in Love Parish newsletters. And you may have received some in your parish already, or if you haven't, perhaps you will in the future. But they're a really good way to link in with what your child is doing in school, and also to make a connection with the life of the church at this time. So for example, there's a newsletter for Christmas and in Advent, how to prepare for that, and similarly with Easter and Lent. So the main kind of celebrations in the life of the church, it can kind of bring us into and invite and encourage us to do really practical small things with our children around those times of the year. So together with the Grow in Love programme that the children are doing in school, they kind of solidify that home, school and parish partnership that is still alive and active, however virtual, just at this particular time. So I hope you find those things helpful and useful as your child prepares for the sacraments of initiation this year. As parents, all we want to do is the very best for our children, and I know that you'll help and support your child in terms of their religious education, as well as you do in every other aspect of their lives. Above all, stay safe and stay well. God bless.